I swear, it still burns in my brain, the way they all pretended this was normal. I remember standing there at what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, holding that ridiculous home sweet home cake I bought for the party, while my mother handed the keys to Leo, my stepcousin. Yeah, Leo, my mom's sister's kid who might as well have been their actual son, given how much they adored him. And me? I was just the wallet. I'm Claire Bennett, 31, and every dime I ever made went into buying my parents this perfect house they claimed would finally be our family's forever home. Except, the second the sale closed, they drew up papers putting it in his name. Not mine. Him. And they didn't even bother to tell me until the housewarming. I guess they thought I'd just shrug and say, well, okay, sure. Enjoy the $210,000 I saved over 12 years. I'll back up. It was about a year ago when they first called me in tears. I was at work, pharmacy technician, double shift, exhausted, and my mom's voice was trembling on the line. Claire, we're about to lose the house. The bank is taking it. We'll have nowhere to go. We'll be homeless. Those words. I'm not proud of how quickly I folded. I'd been saving forever. I didn't go on trips. I didn't buy a new car. I shared a crappy apartment with peeling linoleum floors so I could squirrel away every cent. My dream was to get out, find a small ranch house, start my own life. But they were crying, and they were my parents. So I told them, we'll figure it out. I'll help. It was supposed to be simple. I paid the entire down payment, $210,000, cold, hard, cash. They couldn't even qualify on their own. Their credit was trash from years of rescuing Leo's pathetic entrepreneur schemes. The bakery that failed, the landscaping company that never actually landscaped anything. The time he tried flipping NFTs. Every time he blew up his finances, guess who bailed him out? Them. And when their old house was circling the drain, he just smiled from his new apartment in Austin, texting them, sorry, can't help. But the second he heard I was bailing them out, he came running. I saw it coming in hints. My mom saying, Leo's going to come stay with us for a bit until he gets back on his feet. My dad going, it's good, right? He's family. I didn't fight them on it. I wanted to believe they'd never take advantage of me like that. We spent months looking at properties together. They had this gleam in their eye when they found it, a big white 2-story with those black shutters my mom always said made a house look stately. I remember walking through the empty halls with them, talking about how we'd celebrate holidays there, where the Christmas tree would go, where we'd host Thanksgiving. My dad even put his arm around me, voice cracking, saying, you're saving us, kid. That day, I would have done anything for them. But signing the papers? That's where it got weird. The realtor kept asking who the official buyer was. I said, me, Claire Bennett. But my mom? She was always in the corner, texting, whispering, stalling. Let's just put it in our family's name, she'd say. I pushed back. It's my money. I want it in my name. Finally, they agreed, or so I thought. Fast forward 6 months. I'm standing in the brand new kitchen, marble countertops I picked out, stainless steel appliances. The house smelled like fresh paint and potential. Everyone was there. My parents, a couple neighbors, some aunts and uncles, and Leo, of course. He came in late, wearing that self-satisfied grin. Threw his car keys on the counter. He actually winked at me. Nice place, cuz. We cut the cake. Everyone's laughing. And then my mom literally clears her throat and says, okay, everyone, big news. Leo will be moving in officially next week. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. Moving in? What do you mean? She looked at me like I was the one being weird. Well, honey, it's his house now. We did the paperwork last week. I didn't understand. I thought she misspoke, but she held up the deed. Leo's name, not mine, not even theirs, just him. I dropped my fork. My entire body went cold. What the hell is this? My dad wouldn't even look at me. My mom smiled in that fake placating way she did when I asked uncomfortable questions. Sweetie, you don't need a giant house by yourself. Leo has plans to start a family. He needs stability. You have your little apartment and your job. You'll be fine. I couldn't breathe. My pulse thundered in my ears. I actually laughed because it was too insane. You're joking, right? You're telling me you stole the house I paid for and handed it to Leo because he needs it more? Leo put his arm around my mom and grinned. Look, Claire, you know you don't even like big houses. I'll take care of it. You're welcome to visit anytime. That's when I snapped. I screamed. I know I did. Something like, you lied to me, you stole from me. My mom's smile turned cold. Don't be dramatic, Claire. You don't want to make a scene in front of the family. Oh, but I did. I tore into them. My parents. Leo. The aunts and uncles went dead silent. One uncle tried to calm me down. It's still family property. No, it's not, I yelled. It's his. His name is on the deed. You stole it. My dad finally spoke up then. Claire, it's done. Don't embarrass yourself further. Those words, I think that was the precise second my love for them snapped in half. I left, stormed out the front door without my purse, without my keys, had to call an Uber on my dying phone battery. I went home and cried for 12 hours straight. Next day, I tried to be reasonable. I called my mom. Please, tell me this was a mistake. Reverse it. She actually sighed. Claire, you'll understand when you have kids. Leo needs this. You're single, honey. You'll be okay. Don't be selfish. I hung up, and then I did something I'd never done before in my life. I called a lawyer. My best friend Danny had a brother named Evan who was in real estate law. I showed up at his office red-eyed and shaking. He didn't say anything for the first 5 minutes. Just let me talk. Finally, he leaned forward and said, Bring me every document, everything you signed, everything they signed, bank statements, emails, texts. I spent the whole week gathering it all. I skipped work. I didn't eat. I found the original offer letter I'd signed with the realtor, my name on it. I found the wire transfer from my bank to theirs. I found emails from my mom begging for help, promising, it will be your house. Evan read through it all in silence. Finally, he looked at me and said, very carefully, This is fraud. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't hold my coffee. They can't do this, right? I whispered. He shook his head. Number not legally. You paid for the property. You have written proof they promised it would be yours. And they transferred the deed to someone else without your consent. That's not just shady. That's illegal. And that's when it hit me. My family had actually committed fraud to rob me blind. I wanted to throw up, but I also felt something else. A deep, cold certainty. I wasn't going to let this go. I wasn't going to just be the good daughter who sacrificed everything while they laughed behind my back. Number. They wanted a war? They'd get one. I remember going back to Evan's office the next day. He had a plan. First, an injunction to freeze any sale or refinance Leo tried to do. Second, civil action to reverse the deed transfer and return the property to me. Third, potential criminal referral for fraud. He looked me dead in the eye and said, Claire, once we do this, there's no going back. Your parents and Leo will hate you. I laughed bitterly. They already do. That night, I didn't cry. I made a list. Lawyer, check. Evidence, check. Resolve, check. Because they didn't just take my house. They took me for granted. And I was about to show them exactly how big a mistake that was. Let me tell you, people think the hardest part about getting betrayed is the actual moment you realize they screwed you over. But for me, it was waking up the next morning. Because that's when I remembered. It was real. Not a nightmare. Not an overreaction. Real. My mom, my dad, Leo. They actually planned it. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling for hours. My phone was buzzing with texts from my mom. Mom, can you please calm down? Mom, this doesn't have to be a big deal. Mom, you're overreacting. Mom, Leo is family. Mom, we did what we had to do. What they had to do. I wanted to smash my phone, but instead, I took screenshots of everything. Because Evan had said, document everything. Every text, every email. Don't delete anything. So I did. Every pathetic attempt at guilt-tripping me. Every time my mom tried to say I was the one tearing the family apart. By the end of the day, I had 42 texts from her and 3 from my dad. Dad, this is what families do. Dad, don't ruin things. Dad, stop acting like a stranger. Funny, because I felt like I didn't know them at all. Leo didn't bother texting. He called once. When I answered, all he said was, "Seriously? You're not gonna let this go?" I didn't even answer. I just hung up. Evan scheduled an emergency meeting that afternoon. I showed up at his office feeling like a ghost. He had my folder of evidence open in front of him. "Claire, they're counting on you to back down," he said. I just stared. "Your parents know you. They know you hate conflict. They know you've always given in before. They're gambling you'll be too guilty to fight." I felt my hands curling into fists. He was right. My entire life, that's how it was. They argued. I caved. They cried. I apologized. But this time was different. Because it wasn't just a fight about Christmas dinner or who was disrespectful. They stole over $200,000 from me. That was my house. My life. I took a deep breath and said, "I want to do everything. Injunction, lawsuit, criminal complaint. I don't care." Evan nodded slowly. "Good, because I already drafted the injunction paperwork." He explained it in simple terms. If we could prove fraud and get an emergency injunction, Leo wouldn't be able to sell, mortgage, or modify the house while the case was active. We'd freeze it. Then we'd file to void the deed transfer and put it back in my name. Worst case scenario? They could face charges. Best case scenario? I get everything back. I signed the papers that day. It felt weird, like I was signing a declaration of war against my own family. But there was no going back. As I left the office, my phone started ringing again. It was my mom. I let it go to voicemail, but I listened, because Evan told me to save everything. Her voice was shaky. "Claire, please stop this. You're going to ruin your cousin's life. He's just trying to start a family. We're your parents. Don't you love us? Don't make us the bad guys." I wanted to scream. "You are the bad guys." That night, Danny came over. She brought cheap red wine and a pizza. I hadn't eaten all day. She listened as I vented, pacing back and forth in my tiny living room. "I feel like I'm going insane," I said. "They're acting like I'm the criminal." She watched me for a long second, then said quietly, "Claire, you always let them do this. This is the first time you've said no." I didn't know what to say. She was right. After she left, I sat on the floor surrounded by stacks of paperwork and texts and emails. And I promised myself something. I'd never let them make me feel guilty for standing up for myself again. The next day, Leo called me at 7 a.m. He sounded angry. "Hey, the fuck is this? Some lawyer called me and said I can't sell the house or take a loan on it. You serious?" I didn't even bother with small talk. Yeah, it's an injunction. You're not allowed to do anything with it. You're welcome. He lost it. Started screaming about how I was ruining his plans. How he had a baby on the way with his girlfriend, Melanie. How I was destroying the family. I just listened, cold. When he finally ran out of steam, I said, "You stole from me. That's all this is. Don't make it sound noble." And I hung up. By noon, my dad was at my apartment, banging on the door. "Claire, open up." I didn't. I sat in my kitchen, hands shaking, listening to him pound for 5 solid minutes. He finally shouted, "You're dead to me if you go through with this." And I realized that was supposed to scare me. It just made me feel empty. That evening, Evan called. "The judge approved the emergency injunction. The county recorder has been notified. Leo can't touch the property." I felt a weird surge of triumph, but also fear, because this was real now. No going back. By the weekend, the whole family knew. My Aunt Grace, Leo's mom, called me to scream at me for tearing the family apart. "Leo is like a brother to you," she shrieked. "No," I said quietly. "Brothers don't rob their sisters blind." She hung up on me. At work, I tried to focus on filling prescriptions and counseling patients about medication interactions, but my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Texts from my mom vacillated between angry and pathetic. "Mom, how could you do this to us?" "Mom, we're family." "Mom, I didn't raise you to be so cruel." "Mom, you're ungrateful." Ungrateful. That word sent me into a rage spiral. I wanted to text back a list of every time I bailed them out, paid their overdue bills, bought them groceries, covered medical copays, but I didn't. Instead, I sent one text. "Me. Stop contacting me. All communication is through my lawyer now." And then I blocked her. That night was the first time in weeks I actually slept. Because for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't playing their game. The lawsuit process was brutal. I had to dig up everything. Bank transfers, old emails, texts, handwritten notes from my mom promising me, "It's your house." Evan put together a timeline that made me want to vomit. How they deliberately stalled paperwork. How they rerouted the final title transfer. How they literally forged my initials on an authorization form. Yeah, forgery. When Evan showed me that part, I felt sick. "My own parents," I whispered. He was gentle but firm. "Claire, they committed fraud. The question is whether you're willing to make them face consequences." I didn't answer right away. Because there was a part of me, the old me, that still felt like maybe I was being too harsh. That maybe if I just dropped it, we could go back to normal. But then I thought about that day. My mom's face when she told me it was Leo's house now. The way she acted like I was stupid for being upset. How Leo smirked, and I said, "Yeah, I want them to face consequences." A week later, Evan filed a fraud complaint with the DA. It was mostly leverage. They probably wouldn't prosecute, but it scared the hell out of my parents. I knew it worked because my dad texted me at 2 a.m. "Dad, how could you do this? You'd send us to jail?" I didn't respond, but I saved the text. The first hearing was surreal. Leo actually showed up in a suit that didn't fit. He wouldn't even look at me. My parents sat behind him. My mom was crying before the judge even walked in. I didn't look at them. I just kept my eyes forward. Evan did all the talking, presented the timeline, showed the bank transfers, the forged signature, the texts where my mom admitted it was supposed to be mine. Leo's lawyer tried to argue family gift, that I'd changed my mind and wanted it back out of jealousy. Evan calmly handed the judge the forged document. Silence. Afterward, in the courthouse hallway, my mom tried to approach me. "Claire, please, Let's just fix this. Don't do this to us. Her mascara was streaked. She looked old, broken. I swallowed hard and said quietly, I'm not doing anything to you. You did this to me. I'm just making it right. I walked away before she could say anything else. That night, Evan called me with the news. The judge granted the injunction extension. They can't sell or refinance, and he's very receptive to voiding the transfer if they don't settle. I slumped onto my couch, shaking, relief, fear, triumph, grief, all at once, because I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. They weren't going to give up, but neither was I. You ever have that moment where you realize you're not scared of someone anymore? I had it the day I watched my parents squirm in court while the judge read the words fraudulent transfer. I didn't feel sorry for them. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. But that freedom came with a price. Because the second we left the courthouse, they went nuclear. The calls started before I even got back to my car. Blocked numbers. Random relatives. I picked up one by accident. It was my Aunt Grace, screaming so loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You ungrateful brat! You're sending your own mother to jail! I hung up, blocked her. My dad texted me that night. Dad, we're family. Families don't do this. Dad, we made a mistake. Just drop it. Dad, you'll regret this. That last one made me pause. Not an apology, a threat. I showed Evan. He nodded, calm as ever. That's good. Save it. This helps us. Helps us. I wanted to laugh. My entire family was setting themselves on fire trying to guilt trip me, and Evan treated it like ammunition. But he was right, because 2 days later, Leo tried to transfer the property again. Yeah, even with the injunction, he went to another title company and tried to push it through. They caught it immediately because of the legal hold we'd placed. Evan called me. Leo just tried to sell the house. We have the report. This is contempt of court. I started shaking. They're desperate, Evan said. They know they're going to lose. He filed an immediate motion to hold Leo in contempt. My mom called again. This time, I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was shaking with fury. How dare you? Leo could go to jail? Is that what you want? Your cousin in jail because of your ego? My ego? That was rich. But it wasn't even the worst part. They started showing up at my work. My parents parked outside the pharmacy. They didn't come in. They just sat there, watching, waiting. My manager pulled me aside. Claire, are you okay? Your parents have been outside for an hour. I wanted to die from embarrassment. They're going through something, I managed to say. That night, I called Evan in tears. They're stalking me. They won't leave me alone. What do I do? His voice was so steady. We'll get a restraining order if we have to. I wiped my eyes. Against my parents? Yes. He didn't even hesitate. That's when I realized I'd been waiting for someone to tell me it was okay to protect myself. 2 days later, Danny slept over at my place. She watched me go through texts, voicemails, printed emails. Jesus, Claire, she whispered. This is abuse. I didn't say anything, because she was right. Meanwhile, Leo's lawyer called Evan with a settlement offer. Want to hear it? They'd let me have 20% equity in the house, in exchange for dropping the fraud claim. I laughed so hard I almost fell off my chair when Evan read it to me. 20% of my own house, I said. Evan shrugged. They think you'll cave. They're still treating you like the doormat. We rejected it immediately. Then things got nastier. They started a family smear campaign. Aunt Grace posted on Facebook about how I was trying to bankrupt my own parents and taking advantage of old people. She posted my full name. People I barely knew from high school messaged me to ask if it was true. My stomach dropped every time my phone buzzed. My mom even tried to rope in my grandma. My sweet 85-year-old grandma who didn't even know what was going on. She called me crying. "Claire, honey, why is everyone fighting? Your mother says you want them to be homeless?" I had to explain it all. She didn't understand, but she said she loved me no matter what. It nearly broke me. But that was the line. That was when I told Evan, "No more." We finished this. He filed the fraud complaint formally. With the DA. Leo got served at work, at a used car dealership where he'd just started selling minivans to soccer moms. Evan emailed me a copy of the return of service. I stared at it for a long time. Leo Bennett, defendant, fraud. My parents lost their minds. I know because they emailed me, paragraphs and paragraphs of abuse, accusations, threats, begging, alternating. They didn't even stick to one strategy. Mom, how could you do this to your own father? Mom, we just wanted you to have a family. Mom, you're a monster. Mom, I'll never speak to you again. Mom, please forgive us. I stopped reading them after a while. I just handed them all to Evan. The hearing for the contempt motion was short. Leo actually tried to say he didn't know about the injunction. The judge nearly laughed. "Mr. Bennett, you signed the acknowledgement in my courtroom 2 weeks ago." Leo's face turned beet red. Contempt granted. $5,000 fine. And the judge ordered him to pay my legal fees for that motion. That's when they caved. 2 days after the contempt ruling, Evan got the call. Their lawyer. Suddenly very polite. They wanted to settle. He called me immediately. "I think they're done fighting. They know they'll lose at trial. They want to make a deal." My first instinct was rage. A deal? After everything? But Evan talked me down. "Claire, if they'll give you the house back, plus your legal costs, plus damages, you walk away with everything you wanted, and you're free." So I listened. We countered. I wanted the deed back in my name, full legal fees, an extra $50,000 in damages, and a signed, notarized statement admitting they lied and defrauded me. Their lawyer balked at first, but Evan didn't blink. "Trial starts next month. Your call." They folded. 2 weeks later, I sat in a conference room across from my parents and Leo. None of them would look at me. My mom was crying. My dad looked sick. Leo was pale and furious. The notary walked them through the documents. They had to read the confession aloud before signing. Leo refused at first, but his lawyer muttered something in his ear. He choked it out through clenched teeth. "I knowingly participated in a fraudulent deed transfer against Claire Bennett." His voice broke. I didn't care. My mom cried the whole time she signed, kept looking at me, eyes pleading. I just sat there, expressionless. When it was my turn to sign, my hand didn't shake at all. After it was over, Evan pushed the new deed across the table to me. "Congratulations, it's legally yours again." My mom whispered, "Please talk to me." I stood up, collected my things, looked her in the eyes, and said, "I don't know you anymore." Then I walked out. I didn't even cry in the car. I felt clean, like I'd finally cut out an infection that had been rotting me for years. But I wasn't done yet, because Leo had the gall to text me that night. Leo, hope you're happy. You ruined everything. I read it 3 times, smiled, then deleted it. The next morning, I called my real estate agent, and I put the house on the market. You want to know what true power feels like? It's signing the listing agreement to sell the house they stole from you. I remember sitting at my tiny kitchen table, papers spread out everywhere, realtor on the phone saying, "I'll have the photographer out tomorrow." I didn't even hesitate. "Do it," I said, because I didn't want one damn thing tying me to them ever again. Evan was the first to know. He called as soon as he got the alert on the county filing. "So you're selling?" Yep, I said. He was quiet for a second. Then he chuckled. I hope they see the for sale sign on their way to the grocery store. Oh, they saw it. They saw everything. The listing hit Zillow in 24 hours, with those bright, polished photos of the living room my mom decorated, the kitchen counters Leo bragged about gutting. Except he never got the chance. I made sure to highlight original cabinetry in pristine condition. I didn't even try to hide it from them. Why would I? They made me the villain. I decided to lean into it. My mom's first message was classic. Mom, please don't do this. At least let Leo rent it. We'll pay you. I didn't even answer. I just forwarded it to Evan for the file. Leo tried too, but he didn't even bother with pretending to be nice. Leo, you think you won? You're a piece of shit. Hope the house doesn't sell? I replied once. Me. Good luck explaining the fraud admission letter to any future landlord. Blocked him, because that was the thing. Part of our settlement required them to sign a notarized statement admitting what they did. Evan made sure to record it with the county. Public record. Anyone could request it. Future landlords, employers, girlfriends. I know it was petty, but damn it felt good. Selling the house wasn't even hard. Market was hot. Got 3 offers the first weekend. One was from a developer who wanted to tear it down and build condos. He offered over market price. I didn't even think twice. Accepted immediately. When word got around that I'd accepted the developer's offer, my phone started lighting up again. This time, it wasn't just my parents. It was everyone. Aunt Grace, my Uncle Bill, random cousins who never even liked me. They all wanted to know why I was destroying the family home, as if it had ever been mine to enjoy. My mom left a voicemail sobbing. You know he wanted to raise his baby there. You're taking that from him, from us. I listened to it once, deleted it. I never told them what I planned to do with the money, because it wasn't any of their business. Closing was on a Tuesday. The developer showed up in a suit that cost more than my car. We signed papers for half an hour, small talk about local zoning, his plans for 8 sleek modern townhomes. At the end, he shook my hand. Congratulations, that's a good payday. I nodded. Worth every cent. The wire hit my account that afternoon. $180,000 after fees. Plus the $50,000 damages they'd paid me in settlement. Plus, my legal costs covered. I'd lost time. I'd lost trust. But I didn't lose a dime. When Evan called to confirm the wire, he sounded almost emotional. Claire, you did it. I didn't say anything for a second, because I felt something weird. Not joy, not revenge, just relief. I didn't tell my parents I sold it. I let them find out the same way everyone else did. The big sold banner on Zillow. Danny came over that night with champagne. We sat on my floor, laughing and crying at the same time. God, they're going to be so pissed, she said. I nodded. They don't get to control anything anymore. That was the thing. They didn't hate that I fought them. They hated that they lost control over me. The week after closing was quiet, eerily so. No calls, no texts, no surprise appearances at my work. I think they finally realized it was over. But I wasn't done with my plans, because I had a dream. And it wasn't to live in their stupid white shutter 2-story. It was to have my own place. Just mine. I started shopping immediately. Nothing big, nothing flashy. Just a little single-story cottage outside the city. Wraparound porch. Big enough yard for a garden. I remember walking into the one I bought. It was empty, dusty. Sunlight streamed through the old glass windows. I touched the walls, felt the worn floorboards creak, and for the first time in years, I felt safe. I put in the offer the same day. Paid cash. No mortgage. No strings. Evan laughed when I told him. You're the only client I've ever had who turned a fraud lawsuit into their dream house. Guess it worked out, I said. It wasn't perfect. Needed paint. The kitchen was dated. The plumbing made weird noises. But it was mine. Every cent in it was mine. No one else's name on the deed. When I got the keys, I sat on the porch with a coffee and just breathed. No Leo. No parents telling me to share. No threats or tears or guilt trips. Just me. Of course, they tried one last time. Because they always do. 2 weeks after I moved in, my mom showed up. No warning, no call. Just pulled into my driveway in her beat-up Honda. She got out slowly, looked around like she couldn't believe it. "You really bought this," she said. I stayed on the porch. "Yep." She wrung her hands. Her eyes were red. "I don't know how we got here, Claire." I didn't say anything, because I knew how we got here. She tried again. "I miss you. Your father misses you. We just want our family back." My throat tightened, because a tiny part of me wanted to believe it, wanted to run down the steps and hug her. But I stayed seated, calm, quiet. I forced myself to say it. "Family doesn't steal from each other." She sniffed. "We were desperate. Leo has a baby. We didn't think you'd care." I flinched, because there it was. The truth. They didn't think I'd care. Didn't think I'd fight. Didn't think I mattered. I stood up slowly. "Mom, you need to leave." She blinked at me. "Claire, please, no, leave, now." She tried crying, tried making her voice all small and wounded. But I didn't move. I didn't hug her. I didn't say it was okay. Eventually, she turned and went back to her car. I watched her drive away. When the dust from her tires settled, I sat back down and cried. Not because I regretted it, but because it was over. Because I knew I wasn't going back. Danny called me that night, asked if I was okay. I told her the truth. "I don't know, but at least I'm free." That weekend, I went to the garden store, bought seeds, tomatoes, peppers, zinnias, lavender, violets, my favorite, planted them in neat rows, watched the dirt settle over the roots, because that's what you do after you cut out rot. You make room for something new to grow. I didn't hear from them for weeks, but I knew it wasn't truly the end. People like them don't ever really stop. They'd try again someday, when they were desperate enough. But I'd changed, and I wasn't afraid anymore. It's weird how quiet life can get after you cut out the people who spent years screaming at you. After my mom drove away that day, it was like the volume on my whole world got turned down. No more voicemails filled with crying. No more pounding on my door. No more guilt-tripped texts. Just silence. For the first time in years, I could hear myself think. And what I thought was, I can't believe I let it go this far. I'd spent so long trying to be the good daughter, the helper, the responsible one who kept the family glued together. But all that got me was being seen as the easiest mark, the one they could rob blind. I didn't let myself forget that. Every time I had a weak moment, like when I missed my dad's bad jokes or my mom's cooking, I reminded myself how she waved the deed in my face and told me Leo needed it more. How they sat there watching me cry and told me I was selfish. How they forged my signature. How they tried to gaslight me into believing it was my duty to give it up. So I kept busy. I painted every room in my little cottage. Soft sage green for the living room. Bright sunny yellow for the kitchen. Warm, calming blue for my bedroom. Colors I chose. Colors no one argued with me about. I tore up the weedy front yard and planted raised beds. Tomatoes, peppers, squash. Herbs in little labeled pots. Rows of violets along the front walk. Even though everyone told me they were too finicky, they thrived anyway. I got a hammock for the back porch. read cheap paperbacks in it until the sun set. Sometimes I'd fall asleep out there, crickets singing all around me. No one yelled at me to come inside. No one told me I was wasting time. I stopped apologizing for existing. Danny came over all the time. We drank too much wine, painted thrift store furniture, planned next season's garden like it was the most important thing in the world. We laughed until we cried. I got promoted at work. Lead tech. Better pay. Better hours. My boss told me, "You seem different lately, more confident." I just smiled. Because when you stop letting people drain you dry, you've got a lot more energy left for yourself. Not that the drama was over, because of course it wasn't. About a month after my mom last showed up, I got a letter in the mail, from my dad, handwritten, which was hilarious because he never wrote me anything in his life. He said they'd had to move into a tiny rental, that Leo was struggling to find work after the fraud thing went public, that they didn't understand why I was so cruel. He asked if I could at least help with a security deposit. I read it once, folded it back up, tossed it in the fireplace, watched it burn. No more. Aunt Grace tried too. She sent me a Facebook message. "Family is forever. You're going to regret this when they're dead and gone." I blocked her. I don't want to sound heartless. I wasn't happy they were struggling. I didn't wish them harm. I just didn't want to be their solution anymore. Because here's what no one tells you. If you keep rescuing people from the consequences of their actions, they never learn. So I let them learn. I did hear through the grapevine what happened. Leo's girlfriend left him, took their baby. I guess the fraud admission letter didn't look great in family court. He ended up back at my parents' tiny rental. No more grand plans for a big family home. No more smug smiles. Just reality. My mom tried once more. She emailed me, said she missed me, said she was sorry. But even in the apology, she said, "We just thought you'd be okay. You don't need much." Like that was supposed to make it better. I didn't reply, because I'd realized something important. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry they lost. And I wasn't going to be the consolation prize for them. I used some of the money from the house sale to fix up the cottage even more. New roof, better insulation, energy-efficient windows. I wanted it to be mine in every way. I started hosting dinner parties. Danny, a couple coworkers, my neighbor, Mrs. Fisher, who was 82 and had the dirtiest sense of humor I'd ever heard. We'd sit on the porch in the evenings, watching the fireflies, laughing, sharing stories. And you know what? That felt like family. One afternoon, I was kneeling in the garden, dirt up to my elbows, planting late-season lettuce. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Let it go to voicemail. Listened later. It was my mom. "I don't know if you even listen to these anymore. I just wanted to say I miss you. We're family. Please, don't forget us." I deleted it, not out of anger, but out of acceptance, because I had forgotten them, not who they were, but the power they had over me. Danny came over that night. We drank iced tea on the porch. She watched me for a long time. "You look happy?" she said finally. I smiled. "I am." She grinned back. "You know, you should write a book about this. How to stop being your family's doormat in 5 easy steps." I snorted. Step 1, let them commit fraud. Step 2, sue them into the ground. We both laughed until our sides hurt. Because you have to laugh. If you don't, all you have left is bitterness. And I was done with that. I got a letter from Evan a few weeks later. He sent me the final court order, neatly stamped, officially voiding the fraudulent deed transfer. He'd framed it as a joke. It was perfect. I hung it in my office. Not to gloat, but to remind myself what I was capable of when I stopped being afraid of making people angry. Spring came. The violets bloomed first, then the tomatoes, bright red and fat. Mrs. Fisher's grandkids helped me pick them. I sent them home with baskets full. I joined a local book club. Started dating again. Nothing serious. Just possibilities. Things I'd told myself I didn't have time for when I was always bailing out my parents. Every now and then, I'd get a text from someone in the family. Usually vague. Hope you're okay? Your mom's not well. Leo's having a hard time. I ignored them, not out of cruelty, but because I wasn't the solution anymore. Sometimes people ask me if I forgave them. I always say the same thing. I don't know. Maybe. But forgiveness doesn't mean you let them back in. I learned that the hard way, because forgiveness is something you do for yourself. But boundaries? Those are for everyone. I don't hate them. I don't wish them harm. But I'm not going to set myself on fire to keep them warm anymore. They made their choices. I made mine. And now, every evening on my porch, as the sun sets over my little garden, I take a deep breath. I watch the fireflies. I sip my tea. I listen to the silence, and I think, this is mine, all of it, because I finally chose me.